Finding the origin points of different recipes in our time period can be super difficult. Being able to pinpoint a recipe or a dish that we know to a particular time and place is very, very hard to do. We think that we do it oftentimes, and if you get online and you search and you say something like bangers and mash, it's going to tell you this is from this time period or this happened then. But every time I do that, I later find an earlier source. And so one of the things that's beautiful about simple food is that it's developed over time in our kitchens with our family members, and we build until it becomes the thing that everybody knows forever. So if you go online and you start searching right away about bangers and mash, you're going to see the question, is this from England or is this from Ireland? And everybody's got an opinion on that, and it seems like it does lean towards English, but I don't think anybody can say for sure. At least I'm not the right person to make that decision. You guys can have that conversation in the comment section. I'm not going to just like throw down and say it's from here. That's not for me. But regardless, what matters is that meat and potatoes come from this time period in the 18th century, because this is when we embraced the potato as the food that we were going to eat. The fear of the potato has gone, and now we realize this is the answer to the problem with poverty in food and middle class with food. And so now you see this influx of potato dishes coming into cookbooks, and this is a meat and potatoes recipe. So when you hear that saying and somebody's like, well, they're just a meat and potatoes kind of guy, that means that they're simple, and that they're good, and that they're steadfast. And that's what those dishes are, and that's why I love them so much. So this dish is something that has developed over time. We're gonna go all the way back to where this is not quite the bangers and mash that we know, but this is meat and potatoes. It is using sausages, and it is right here. This recipe comes from A New and Easy Method of Cookery by Elizabeth Cleland. I love this cookbook. I haven't used it in a while, so I'm really excited to use it today. To fry sausages with apples or potatoes, take a pound of sausages and 6 apples or potatoes. Cut them as thick as a crown. Fry them with sausages a light brown. Dish them up hot. Stewed cabbage and fried sausages or peas pudding and sausages eat very well. And isn't it interesting that in this early recipe you see potatoes and sausages paired with peas, which is what you'll often see bangers and mash with now. But before we can even get to this recipe, we have to talk about sausages and how we're going to make them. So in our time period, you're gonna see multiple different types of sausages, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But it doesn't matter. It seems like that term sausage is used whether you're using a casing or you're not using a casing. So now, in the time period, it really hasn't changed a whole lot. If you're using a natural casing, you're using a hog intestine. And so what they're going to do is they're gonna remove them, they're gonna clean it out, and that will be stored in a salt solution or in salt until you need to use it. And then you'll just rinse it really well and get all that salt out of there and begin to pack your sausage. Now, we're not gonna do that in this video simply because a lot of you at home wanna try these recipes and you don't have sausage casings. That's fine. They also used this term sausage to mean basically the same thing that's in a casing, but it's outside of that, and it's using an egg as kind of a binder, kind of like what we would do with a meatloaf or something like that without the breadcrumbs. This would be called a forced meat in some situations, or a sausage in others. To make common sausages, take 3 pounds of nice pork, fat and lean together, without skin or gristle. Chop it as fine as possible. Season it with a teaspoonful of beaten pepper and 2 of salt. Some sage shred fine, about 3 teaspoonfuls. Mix all well together. Have the guts very nicely cleaned and fill them, or put them down in a pot to roll them of what size you please and fry them. Beef makes very good sausages. First thing we're going to do is take our pork and we're going to chop it up very finely. Now, we don't want any gristle or skin in there. A little bit of fat is going to be good and helpful. If your sausage mixture seems too dry, just add a little bit of beef tallow. Then we're going to season it with our salt and pepper and our sage. Some recipes in the same cookbook call for things like other herbs. They call for lemon. There's some that call for wine. Have fun with that. I'm just going to stick to this recipe for now. But we're going to get all that mixed together with our suet, and we're going to pack it all well together. Now, one of the things that you need to know about this that is in the previous recipe is to get this to bind together, we're going to use an egg to smooth it out. And so before we put this in the skillet, a nice hot skillet, by the way, we're going to use egg to use as a binder and to make sure that they're nice and smooth. Now that we've got our sausage finished, the potato part is really easy. Traditionally in the time period, they will peel potatoes, so I'm going to here, even though it doesn't say in any given recipe. Get them in the pan with some butter. You're gonna fry them. Don't try to cook them too fast or they won't cook all the way through and they'll get burned on the outside. But I like them to kind of crisp up and be a little brown on the outside. And then we are going to put our sausages in. I'm gonna give the potatoes a start first. So I've got the period version of this dish made and we're gonna taste it here in a second, but it's something I thought would be fun today and I've wanted to do it on the channel. I can't remember if I ever have actually, but I'm gonna make a modern version. I'm just gonna whip it up real quick so we can taste test against it and see how far off we are. So both of these dishes are finished and obviously there's some differences, right? We don't have mashed potatoes here. And we don't know that people weren't using sausages and mashed potatoes. We just don't have that in a cookbook, right? So we can't say that they weren't. We can't say that this dish wasn't, originated 300 years before it was, or 400 or 1,000. I don't really know. I just know that they weren't making potatoes like they are now until the 18th century. So it's pretty unlikely that they were using this potato sausage mixture before the time period that we represent here on this channel. Now, the bangers and mash, if you go online, you go searching, people are gonna say that came around World War I, and it probably did. That's when it became named, right? But it doesn't mean that that's when those two ingredients first came together. So it's a little tricky. That's the whole kind of point of a lot of what we do on this channel, is taking food and searching it as far back as we can and seeing, okay, well, where did the components for this dish come together, even if it wasn't called that, and even if it wasn't put on the plate exactly the same way. This is where bangers and mash starts. We're gonna start with this 18th century dish because that's the point of all of this. And also, I haven't made a sausage quite like this before, so I'm really excited to try it. We've done a lot of force meat on the channel, force meatballs, that sort of thing. We've done sausages similar to this, but I've just not made this mixture quite the same before. So think of the texture of a breakfast sausage, but better. So a lot of times when you get breakfast sausages, they taste really greasy, really oily. They taste like maybe chemically if you get them out of the freezer section or something like that. This tastes fantastic. And all that sage comes through and it just carries everything. It feels very fresh. And if you get those potatoes crispy, it is perfect. I mean, it's a texture explosion. It's really, really good paired with a bite of that sausage. Now, the whole goal with this one over here was for me to make this like I would just go home and cook dinner for the family, right? So I didn't make these sausages. I got them in a meat market down the road. I never use instant potatoes, although my wife does, because some of my kids even prefer instant potatoes. But these have heavy cream and butter. So this is like as kingly as mashed potatoes get. A little sprinkling of parsley. I did a quick gravy made from the onions and a beef broth and a little bit of butter and flour. Let's try it out. That's really good, but it's not better. It's just different, right? This one doesn't have a sauce that pulls everything together. That's a big lacking component. So there's creaminess here from the potatoes and from the sauce, a few other layers of flavor, but this lacks the sage that I'm telling you, that is the star of this dish. If you're gonna make this at home, do not skimp on the sage. It's really good. Make sure you get it into that sausage. It's really fun to make food for yourself, right? We can go out to the store and we can get things that are already prepared, but this is it. And when you're eating it, especially if you're eating it with a family, there's a point of pride there. You made this for your kids. It's awesome. Thank you so much for watching.